Hey everybody, thanks so much for tuning into our pilot video for our channel, Big Toe Bushcraft, Wild Foraging and Identification. I'm Tori Clark, and this is Little Dog, my faithful companion. We're out here on our property today on the east coast of Vancouver Island on the 1st of May 2023, where we have fields and meadows and coniferous and deciduous forests. We have creeks and valleys, and we have the lake and marshland. All of these videos are going to be comprised of different parts of the property here, and we'll be doing some morphology, ecology, taxonomy, finding out edible plants, poisonous plants, and some of the wildlife around here. We're also going to be going up and checking out some of the creeks and rivers on the island here because I've started getting into gold panning, and I'd love to share that with you. Also, bushcraft. Yes, bushcraft. Those will be ASMR, so you're not going to have to listen to my gums flapping all the time. We'll be doing some cabins, we'll be doing some survival lean-tos, and bushcraft tips of the day and gadgets. Throughout all of these, I just need you to keep in mind, when it comes to taxonomy, Latin is a very, very difficult language, and some of the pronunciations are very, very hard. So please be gentle in your comments, and I'm going to do the best I can as I do hours upon hours of research trying to bring you the most current and accurate information. So at the end of the video of this video today, we're going to be collecting up all of what we foraged, and we're going to make a small little meal. So please come out for a walk with me and see what we can see. You know, we need to forage responsibly. So when I'm out in the bush and I just see a small flush of something that I want to forage, I leave it alone. But when I come across a huge flush, like these Oregon grape here, I have no problem going in and taking what I need. Again, I'm going to stick to less than 10%, but there's so much here, and I really only need just enough to make 1/2 of a liter of a drink. So we're going to infuse these flowers into some water over the day, and tonight we'll have them with our semi-foraged meal. You can also see the beautiful contrast between the red leaves that from last year and the yellow flowers. And these are also related to the barberry, which a lot of us have in our gardens. I happen to have 4 of them. But I'm going to start in and harvest some of these flowers in different little spots. And I'll meet up with you in the next clip. Okay, so I have separated the flowers from the stalks because, well, you gotta keep them separated, and yeah, dumb, I know, but you can see that some of the berries are already forming. There's only a few of them in there, most of it's flower, but so I've taken all the flower pods here, and they're gonna get put into my bottle of water where it can infuse for the rest of the day. So let's start out with this amazing wild plant. This is the purple dead nettle, Lamium purpureum. It's also known as the purple monster because it takes over. It's everywhere. So these guys are not related to the nettle. They're called the dead nettle because they have leaves that are very similar in shape, only scalably smaller than the stinging nettle, and dead because it has no stingers. There are no toxic lookalikes for this guy. It's got calcium, it's got magnesium, it's got iron. It is an antioxidant, antifungal, it's an antimicrobial, and if you have like asthma or allergies, it is an antihistamine. It's related to the mint family, and I don't know if you can make this out, but it has a square tube for a stalk. And I'll give you a bit of a cross section here. So you can see that it's squarish. I say ish just because I've kind of messed it up when I broke it. But yeah, amazing, amazing. If you have a wound, you can chew it up, spit it out, and put it on your wound, and you will keep the microbes away. Their flowers are opposite and alternating, so they're opposite and then they alternate 90 degrees. I believe that even the purple in the leaves and in the stalk, they can use for dyes. But yeah, it's got a little puff of flowers and petals at the top here. They're very, very dainty. The purple monster, Lamium purpureum, or the purple dead nettle. Oh, the leaves are kind of fuzzy, so they're not the most palatable, but full of good stuff for you. Here we have Mom and Dad and their 3 little babies. Canada geese, Branta canadensis. That's one set of 3 sets of nesting geese on our lake. Bye, little family. And this is the juniper tree. One of 4 on this little outcropping island, and I thought originally it was Juniperus communis, but that is a low-lying shrub. And after more research, I thought, okay, well, it's maybe Juniperus occidentalis. But that likes a higher elevation, like 1,200 feet, and we're only about 150 right here. So, after more research, I looked at the cone, because yes, it is a conifer. I know that they call them berries when they're making gin, but it is a true conifer, and it has cones. And when I looked at the cone, it had 1 seed. And after a little bit of research, I found Juniperus monosperma. And I'll take you in for a closer look at the berry and cone, because it's a 2-year life cycle. They start out as a berry-ish, and then they turn into the cone. And I'll show you right now. So here's an example of a berry, like first year. And yeah, the geese are chatting. And right above it, right up here, are the second year cones. So these will fall off, the 2 cones, or all these cones, and this one will stick around for another year, and there's many more on this tree just like it. So yeah, for survival or bushcraft, you'll always find dead branches, and the inside heartwood is kind of a pinkish purple, which is sap that's solidified inside it. And great for fires, great for smoking meat or whatever. Or you could just cut a branch off, slice it down the middle, like with an axe, and stick it on your mantle, and it'll give off a really, really nice cedary aroma. Yeah, so this is one of the mothers. There's 2 mothers, and I've got 2 babies on the other side of the island. And beneath these beautiful junipers, we have this guy. This plant is bad, okay? This is spurge laurel, and it is neither a spurge nor a laurel. Daphne laureola, and it is actually related to the rhododendron. If you ingested just 1 leaf, Your esophagus will be burned and ulcerated. I can only imagine what it would do to your stomach, and the rest of your intestinal tract for that matter. If you get it on your skin, you will get burns and blisters and possibly rash later. So this one's a plant you need to avoid. Yeah, I don't know why they come up with the names they do when it's, you know, spurge laurel. It's neither a spurge nor a laurel, so that's kind of funny. But, and right beside it's another one. They grow through their rhizomes, which travel under the ground. And this is probably the mother. And to remove it, I'm going to go to the government site to see what the protocols are for removing it. If you're going to do it yourself, I would suggest you wear long sleeve shirt, gloves, long pants, goggles, even a full face mask. So the sap in these is what does it. Terrible. Stay away from this plant. And just behind Mom and Dad Canada Goose, we have some hooded mergansers, Lophidites cuculatus. Sorry about the shaking, I'm zoomed in, so it's very touchy right now. And here's an old Douglas fir that has slowly decomposed and become a critter hotel. The high rise of the property. This is a big old stand of Douglas fir, or Pseudotsuga menziesii. Pseudo meaning false, Suga meaning hemlock. Menziesii because it was discovered by a Scottish botanist in the early 1800s by the name of Archibald Menzies. They have evolved needles which are filled with resin, which helps them withstand very, very harsh winters. One of my favorite teas is fir needle tea, Douglas fir needle tea. They are full of nutrients, and their new meristematic growth is going to be coming out soon. So we have here their little pods, which will open up. They're kind of a papery consistency, sticky, and they will open up and new shoots will come out off the end of this, and they'll be really, really light green. And that meristematic is full of vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin D. It's full of iron, it's full of calcium, it's just really, really good for you. Another thing worth noting is that if you look down the end, the needles are whorled, meaning they go all the way around the stem. Now the balsam, or Abies balsamia, are in like one plane, so you'll see all the needles like that, and not going all the way around. I have a younger little tree of younger balsam further on in the forest, and I will give you an example of both side by side. Now their bark, different bark, is what gives them their structure and strength. It grows very, very thick. Underneath the thick bark layer, that's all crackling apart, is the cork and then the cambium. Now the cambium is edible. It's kind of a milky white color. You gotta cook it and like roast it and kind of make it like chips. It's very, very hard for us to digest lignin, and that's what these guys are composed of. So do it at your own risk with eating minimal amounts of it. Now their pitch, which you can pretty much find in any forest, you're going to find some spot where it's dripped pitch. And that's because that is their defense mechanism for if they have a wound. And like the tree, if you have a wound, you can put this on it, and it is somewhat antiseptic, and it will also protect it. But yeah, these guys are the pioneers of the Pacific Northwest. This guy's probably over 100 years old. And we have a huge stand of them on the island here. And right behind this beautiful Douglas fir is the Madrone, or Arbutus menziesii. Now, this one has the same species name as the Douglas fir. Why is that? Well, this tree also was discovered by Archibald Menzies. So the bark on this tree makes wonderful tea. It's got a lot of tannins in it, so it makes like a black tea. It's very tasty. It will have berries, and the berries are tasty as well. They have kind of a orange peel feel to them. This tree here naturally sheds the bark every year. It is an evergreen, as it always has leaves on it, but it does shed them at certain points in time. But while it's shedding them, the new greener leaves are still growing. But yeah, they're such a neat tree. The Madrone. And I'll put up a little clip here of the flowers on one of the other trees. This one's just too tall to get a good shot. And, as promised, the Madrone flowers. A little bit windy out today, unfortunately. I'll take a little sprig of them off. Give you a close-up. Yeah, so these little bells are really sweet. They're really nice to sprinkle on a salad, or you can infuse them into water. Just put a bunch in a little bottle full of water and shake them up every hour or so and just stick it in the fridge for 12 hours. And it's really nice on a hot day. So yeah, these guys constantly fall down, and you're gonna, if you have a Madrone tree around, you will see all these little balls on the ground. And yeah, so wonderful taste. And the smell. I can't get over the smell. Very nice. Of course, the little dog likes grass. You're good with that though, eh, sweetheart? Now this is great. Within a 7-foot radius, we have 2 species of Oregon grape, and we also have the English holly. So this is the tall Oregon grape, Berberis aquifolium. Aquifolium meaning spiny leaf, which they have very spiny leaves, as you can see. Now there's also the dwarf Oregon grape, which is right over here. Berberis nervosa. Now they used to be in the Mahonia genus, but they discovered that under the bark and in the root and in the sap that there is a compound, a yellow compound, called berberine, which you can buy in tablet form in the pharmacy. Berberine helps with bile production, so it helps with your liver function. It's great topically for psoriasis, for eczema, rashes. The berries are really good. A little bit on the tart side. They make great wine. They're a great alternative for cranberry sauce at like Thanksgiving or Christmas. The flowers come out and they're beautiful yellow. And you can kind of make them into like a lemonade. And full of nutrients, very amazing. And the Oregon grape will also change color and turn red, the leaves. Now right beside it is an English holly, Ilex aquifolium. It's not related to the Berberis aquifolium, but it just has spiny leaves, hence aquifolium. This has red berries, not powder blue ones like the Oregon grape, and I believe it has little white flowers. Not edible. It is foraging time. This little fella is sheep sorrel, Rumex aceticella. So you can see it's one main lobe and then these two little lobes off the bottom there. Now these guys have the faint flavor of rhubarb, and I love rhubarb. But due to the slight bitterness to them, that means that they are high in oxalates, so you want to limit your consumption. So I'm going to pick a few of these and get them ready for my salad. Ladies and gentlemen, the organic produce section is now open. Look at all this miner's lettuce, Claytonia perfoliata, and right beside it are the cleavers, Gallium aperane. Now I just made stinging nettle and cleaver soup, creamy soup, and it was delicious. And now I'm going to harvest some miner's lettuce to go with my already harvested sheep sorrel. And I'm also going to grab some chickweed, which we will identify as we go. So the miner's lettuce, Claytonia perfoliata, because it has one leaf, and it is kind of like satellite dish or lily pad shaped, and the little tiny flower comes right out of the middle. Very dainty, and there will be a few flowers come out. And my favorite part of this plant actually is the stalk. It's really juicy and flavorful, and it's kind of sweet. I do find the leaves have a very earthy flavor, kind of like grass, but they're full of nutrients. You know, they've got the calcium, they've got the iron, they've got, you know, your vitamins A and D. I believe C is in there as well. So yeah, this is another one that is going into the basket for tonight's salad. So when you're foraging and you come across a flush like this of, say, miner's lettuce, don't just reach in there and grab a whole clump. First of all, you know, you can be damaging their root system and maybe they won't come back next year. Miner's lettuce is very prolific and it'll carry on. But the problem is when you grab a handful of stuff, you don't know what you've got. You know, I just pulled up two pieces of which I thought was miner's lettuce because of the flowers. And look at that. Two different plants. Now luckily, this is chickweed to the right here, Stellaria media, and it is also edible, so it's not a problem. But I mean, you know, yeah, the flowers are different, but when you quickly glance or just grab, you have to make sure you know what you're pulling up. And same as when you get it home, you know, when you're washing it off, you want to go through each piece, because sometimes little things can get stuck in there. Like if you're harvesting cleavers, for instance, these guys here, Gallium aperane, they stick to everything. So you can, you know, I mean, they'll even stick to my hand. So it's even upside down and it's still sticking. Hence the name cleaver. So just be very careful while you're harvesting. So since we were just talking about the chickweed, here is a little plant of chickweed, Stellaria media, and they have down each side, I don't know if you can see this, but they have a little mohawk of little fine hairs, and when it gets down to the next section, it'll alternate to another direction. So they've got this beautiful little hair going all the way down, and like I say, it changes. The leaves are kind of opposite but staggered, and It's got a little tiny, tiny flower. And totally edible. Okay, so I have done my harvesting of my miner's lettuce. I have done my chickweed. And I have also done my sheep sorrel. That'll be pretty much plenty enough to be putting in a salad. I know every one of these plants, so that's not a problem. I'm only one person and I can only eat so much salad. So I'm not going to go and harvest way more than I need. Alrighty, I can't wait for this one. I'll be making my own homemade blueberry vinaigrette. It's tick season too, you know, be very careful of those guys. Around here we have a couple of different species. One of them is the deer tick, which can carry Lyme disease. That's something you really, really do not want to get. So I personally, when I get home, before I go in the house, I take my clothes off, shake them out, brush out my hair, and I'm pretty good. If you have somebody with you, you can get them to check you over for them as well. And we're coming up on the hawthorn, Crataegus laevigata. Laevigata divida, baby. This tree I did not even know was here for many years. So you can see that the leaves are lobed. They almost look like a oak leaf, but not quite. They have thorns, hence the name hawthorn. And it will have berries which look very much like the rose hips. They make a really nice tea. And you can make jams, you can make a lot of things out of them. Very cool. And growing on it is the honeysuckle, Lonicera ciliosa. And the flowers on the honeysuckle are edible. The beautiful trumpet-like orange flowers. And later on in the year they will get berries. These are not edible. Do not eat the berries on the honeysuckle. Just a little word of advice. So we have come to the end of the island, and I hope you enjoyed our journey. Now we only touched on a few of the plants and wildlife that are on the island here, so there will be more videos coming from this area, plus other videos from the rest of the property. So if you're interested, the last 3 minutes are me slapping together a semi-foraged meal from what we gathered today. Alright everybody, happy outdoorsing and stay safe. So when you're harvesting your wild greens, they're very, very delicate and they will start wilting very quickly. So you want to pick them kind of right before you're going to use them. Now, I like to use very salty water, like almost sea salt water, and just plunk them in them, and it's cold water. And this, if there's any bugs, they don't like it. And the cold will help keep the color of your vegetation. And one of the great thing about wild foraging is these are obviously store-bought romaines, but these are $7 a head. So when I put in the wild foraged foliage, it cuts down my costs at the grocery store by at least half. I don't know why I rip them. They say to rip them and not cut them, and I don't really understand what that means, but nonetheless, I love romaine, and mixing it in with the other stuff is awesome. Yeah, and I like to have them bite-sized, so, and scissors is way easier than cutting them up on a chopping board. And since I know what everything is, I can chop them all together. The chickweed, the miner's lettuce, the sheep sorrel, oh, and a blade of grass got in there, well, in last year's blade of grass. And then the dandelions. And on top of it all is going to be our blueberry vinaigrette. Nice. So for my vinaigrette, I did 2-to-1 extra virgin olive oil to balsamic vinegar and apple cider vinegar. And then I took about a 1/4 cup of blueberries and mashed them up. So this will get mixed in with that. And at the end, we will have a lovely blueberry vinaigrette. Now that we've mixed it all up, we're just going to let that infuse in the fridge until we're ready to put it on that excellent salad we have planned. And there we go. It's almost like having your own microgreen store right in your own backyard. And the dandelion flowers are for just a little bit of color. I don't use the green part, the sepals, because they're quite bitter. But the petals are just fine. So the protein tonight is going to be pork. Nice big old chop. So I add a little pepper, a little onion powder. I love this stuff. It actually goes a long way. Obviously you need salt on your proteins. And I prefer a little bit of brown sugar. Just as a little, like just half a teaspoon maybe. Just rub it in. And then I take fir needles from the Douglas fir tree because they really add to the flavor. I just chop them up really fine. It's easier than using a knife, truthfully. And this is going to add so much flavor. Plus, in the barbecue, I throw a branch of Douglas fir on, green, to let it smoke. You know, the texture of it's pretty much like rosemary, but way different flavor. And I normally chop that up a lot finer. But okay, on to the queue. And on she goes. And just so you know, my hands are not dirty, they're actually stained with blueberry from the vinaigrette I was making. Alright, so we're going to put that on there for a little while, and just to help it smoke along, I'm going to throw fir needles in there. And because it's getting warmer out, I am so glad that I made this drink from the Oregon grape flower, which has been sitting in the fridge. I'm just going to strain out this wonderful juice. Oh yeah, look at that. And a little bit of orange for flavor. Extra flavor, I should say. Obviously didn't need the second one. Alright. Cheers. Here's to fluffy eggs. Oh my goodness, that's good. I recommend trying that. Oh, that's a beautiful looking beast. Yeah, a bit of salad. And some homemade blueberry vinaigrette. It's chunky, but hey, nothing wrong with that. This is making me hungry. These pretzels are making me thirsty. Alright, well, I hope you enjoyed all that. I know I'm going to enjoy the next 20 minutes. So, till next video, thanks for watching. Take care now.